In this video, I'm going to clean up this OLCUT Ever-Ready camping knife. I picked it up at a flea market along with these other knives here, and I'm going to clean them up. But my first job is going to be on this camping knife right here. So it's a pretty solid knife. It's interesting. The springs on it, the back springs seem to have some pretty good strength to them. So when I open them up, the blades, they have pretty decent snap going into the open position here. This blade is a little sluggish, and I'm hoping as we work on it, it'll get better. But it snaps open okay, but it doesn't snap closed well. The hatchet, that snaps closed real nice. Hear that? That's what I like to see. But the knife, it doesn't. And so, in looking at that, the issue we have is that the blade is scraping on the liner as you close it. And I was like, why is that happening? And the answer to that is that the blade is bent over a little bit towards the hatchet here. And so just to show it on against the straight edge here, see if I can back out on this. There we go. Here's a sort of a straight edge. I mean, to the tip, it is something like 1/4 of an inch pushed over. And so that's preventing it from snapping closed. So we got to do something about that. And it looks like this thing is bent a little bit right in the tang there. So I'm not going to take this knife apart, but I'm going to see if I can't straighten this blade out a little bit. And then we're going to just clean this thing, give this thing a good cleaning. Now, some guys, what they would do is they would push the pin out of there and take that blade out and straighten it out. But I really don't want to do that. I don't want to have to wrestle with the back spring. I don't want to mess up this rivet here. So I'm just going to kind of fake it here. So I'm going to clamp this thing in the vise and see if I can't just tap that blade and just get it to bend over just a little bit to straighten it out. I'm going to squeeze the blade in my vise, but I don't want to mar it with any imperfections that may be in my vise jaws. So I'm just putting some painter's tape on here, and that should protect the surface of the blade here so that it doesn't pick up any further problems. It's got enough problems as it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of give this thing a good firm squeeze right on the pin so that the pin is nice and stable. There we go. Well, you can see how far off this thing is. I'm going to put this piece of wood on here and line it up. It's significantly off at the tip, so I've got it clamped in the vise. And I'm trying to see if I just can't tap it back into submission here. All right, wish me luck here. How'd we do? I feel like we got a little bit of it. Oh my gosh, that's almost perfect. Let's see how we did. Oh, it's got some snap. All right, and let's see here. The lighting is not great. Well, the tip is not touching the liner. It is rubbing a little bit back this way, but I don't think I'm going to try to fix that. I think I'm going to call this a victory. Beautiful. And I think that's going to get better as we clean it. I really like these Scotch-Brite wheels for my rotary tool. They do a really good job of stripping off the rust without hurting the metal underneath. They're inexpensive. I bought a bag of 100 of them for something like, it's less than 20 bucks delivered through Amazon. I wore out this greening Scotch-Brite wheel cleaning up my knife here, and it was disposed of after I was finished. So the total cost for cleaning this knife up with the Scotch-Brite is somewhere around 25 cents, maybe less. So the toughest place to clean out here is these grooves where the blades reside. So what I've got here is I've got a bamboo skewer, and I'm going to just work that groove with a little bit of mineral spirits on it and just try to get some of that gritty stuff out of there as best I can. You really can't do a perfect job on this. And I could probably do a good job with the parts washer, but with the chemicals that I use, I'm afraid of hurting the celluloid on this knife, so I'm not going to put this in the parts washer. Next, I have a little piece of wood. It's kind of like an ice cream stick, and I just rub it around in there and try to polish the bottom of that groove as best I can. Here, the mineral spirits will thin out the grease, help you get the dirty stuff out of there. You can't get it all out, but you can get a lot of it out of there. And I'm just dipping it into the mineral spirits and working that groove real good, like that. And then I'll close the knife and do the back. So I can already tell that's the action is a lot better on this now. And I just clean that grease out of there. All right, you hear my clocks chiming in the background there. I'm a clock guy. Repair them for my own pleasure, although that one is chiming the incorrect hour. So I'm going to use this. This is this old sheet that I cut up, and I'm just running it down in there. It's a good stiff surface, and I'll just stuff it in there with this ice cream stick, and that's got a nice tight fit. I can run it back and forth in there and clean it up pretty darn good. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty good. Whoops, broke my stick. But it gave its life to a good cause here, I think. I start with a Red Rouge buffing compound. It's good for this metal here. It doesn't hurt the metal, but it kind of polishes it. So I'll go over the nickel bolsters here, as you can see, and also all the exposed steel that I can get to on it. So now I'm applying a blue buffing compound. This is a much finer grit, and I think it's more appropriate to go over the celluloid. So it's just kind of getting some of the shallow scratches out, and I don't really want to add any heat to the celluloid because I don't want to warp it or cause it to melt. The Buffer Rouge has a kind of a wax carrier that holds it together, and that has to be wiped off of everything. It's kind of a black residue. It kind of gets down in the little crevices, and it's almost a little bit of a protection for this as well, because it kind of seals up the little pores and that kind of thing. It's got some corrosion on it that's deep, and I'm not going to try to do anything with it. I think it adds a little character to it. I think it's good the way it is. Listen to that snap now. It's so much better. I'm pretty happy with this. I could go crazy probably and polish it to another level, but honestly, I like a little pocket wear. This is an old antique knife. I think it deserves to look that way, and so I don't want to go too much farther with this. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, there's a little embossed Ever Ready with a dash, and it's not very readable, and I think it was inked at one time, so I'm going to try to ink that again and see if I can get it to pop out. So let's try that. Well, I'm using a little very fine point pen here. This is it's like an India ink. Well, when I was in kindergarten, I got a C in coloring because I was always outside the lines here, so this isn't exactly perfect, but it's at least a C, I would say. Maybe even a C+. I think that's pretty darn good. I'm gonna just go with that. So there it is, all done. Listen to that snap.